ravishing prose and got satisfaction from seeing the stories she had edited published in the major papers. But it was all just a rehearsal for the big break she hoped was on its way. She and Suzanne talked long into the night about their ambitions and their desires to emulate famous journalists such as Martha Gellhorn, who had reported the rise of fascism in Europe in the 1930s, and Oriana Fallaci, who had been in the resistance against Mussolini before embarking on a career covering war and revolution. Marie and Suzanne dreamt of having it all. We wanted to be superhero female journalists to show men we could do the same as them. But we also wanted the home and the flowers and the smell of apple pie, says Suzanne. In the spring of 1984, Marie and John joined her old Yale friends, Katrina and her boyfriend Chris Bartle, Dave Humperville, Bobby Shriver and others, for a sailing holiday in Belize. They drank prodigious quantities of alcohol, argued about who was the better writer, Ernest Hemingway or Alice Walker, and got stranded on a sandbank from which they were rescued by local Rastafarians. Slipping back into her carefree student ways and feeling nostalgic for her college romance with Dave, Marie grew impatient with John, who was driving her crazy with his protectiveness, always saying, "Marie, be careful," and "Marie, watch your hands," when they were sailing. She felt ugly, greasy hair, belly fat, compared to Katrina, looking great in pink shorts, white t-shirt. More to the point, she thought Katrina and Chris seemed happy together. By contrast, she and John were becoming estranged. He was looking for stability, but she craved adventure. Back in Washington, she and Jonathan Landay introduced Lou to their favorite pastime. "I took Lou sailing for the first time and he fell in love with it," says Jonathan, who had a Sailmaster 22 called the Ananda. Strong and wiry, Lou quickly learned how to wrestle the boat into submission in turbulent seas, although he did suffer the occasional cracked rib. "We'd go out in really rough weather," says Jonathan. "I remember keeling over and he just loved it." In Lou, Marie had found a kindred spirit who didn't exhort her to be careful, who preferred the storm to the calm. Lou bought the same model of boat as Jonathan and christened her the Ananda II. She had a fiberglass hull with wooden brightwork and mast, so Lou and Marie would spend hours sanding and painting before heading out into the Chesapeake Bay, in fair weather or foul. When Kat visited from Yale in 1984, they took her out for what was supposed to be a couple of days. It ended up being a week because we hit the doldrums and there was no wind, she remembers. We were stuck out there with no electricity. Lou told her the story of David Camera's murder and his prison years. Kat had initially found it hard to understand why her sister was hanging out with someone as old as their father would have been, even older than her previous boyfriends. But on that sailing trip, she got it. He was so inspiring and charismatic, she says. Katrina wasn't so sure. "Ree," she said in one of their long phone calls, "I just fear you'll jump into this and spend a long time extricating yourself. You are very susceptible to guilt." Katrina had reason to fear for her friend. Lou had slipped off the wagon. One day after they'd been drinking on the boat, he passed out. A storm came through, and Marie had to steer back into harbour alone and carry Lou ashore. It was the talk of the newsroom, a tidbit that added more to Marie's mystique than Lou's. By now, everyone believed they were more than housemates. She was in her 20s and he was in his late 50s, but they were in love. "I thought it was wonderful," says Jonathan. "But I knew that it wasn't going to last, because she was young and ambitious and wasn't going to stay there forever." Allen Ginsberg asked Marie what she thought of Lou's drinking. "He goes into rages sometimes. Have you seen those?" he asked. "I'm afraid of them," she replied. Pearls around her neck, a loose shirt over tight jeans, Marie had a bohemian style all her own. Despite her agonies over dieting, she was slim and naturally elegant. Her abundant curls, cut now to fall just above her shoulders, were still the first thing anyone noticed about her, and then her intense green eyes, heads turned whenever she walked into a room. "It's hard to overstate how cool Marie was," says Tim Golden, a recent graduate who had just joined the UPI Latin America desk. "She was really bright in a funny, unpretentious and curious way. She knew every fun thing to do in whatever place it was. People wanted to be around her." Tim also discerned a vulnerability that conflicted with Marie.